to the proudly South African Women in Leadership Fix Her Crown dialogue this morning. It's a great pleasure to be back on this platform, talking to women who are doing amazing work in the creative arts industry. This is our 4-part series, the whole month of August, as we celebrate and embrace women who really are trailblazers in the industries that we've tapped into. And today it's the creative arts. There's so much happening in that world, and we've handpicked some of the women that we really believe are disruptors in a good way. So my name is Happy Ngidi, and I am the Chief Marketing Officer at Proudly South African, and I have the pleasure of hosting this dialogue this morning. Thank you so much for joining us, wherever you may be in the country, on all our platforms, our Zoom platform. We're streaming live on Facebook this morning, but a special welcome to all the ladies who are joining us, who will be discussing this, the issues around the sector and all things, the good, the bad, and the ugly, so to speak. The ugly in moderation. It's not about that. It's about celebrating each other today. So, yeah, without further ado, I want to give you a bit of background in terms of why this industry is so significant and it's so important to look into and celebrate it. So the discussion today has an element of it's edutainment. It's meant for you to walk away from this discussion feeling like you've learned something, feeling like you have an appreciation of what the arts, creative arts is all about. But also we let our head down a little bit, and we talk as women about how we fix each other's crowns. We all need it when things fall apart and things don't necessarily go according to plan. You need to call on somebody. You need to tap into your sisterhood kind of vibe, even in the corporate space or even your personal spaces. So welcome to everybody. Welcome to, like I said, the speakers, but also our stakeholders who are online. All our member companies, our friends and colleagues from the DTI, and member companies who are both in the corporate space or private sector rather, and the public sector. Thank you. And consumers, last but not least, consumers. Thank you so much. So this is a very diverse industry, and it has touch points in the design, in music, in publishing, in film and video, crafts, visual arts, fashion, television and radio, advertising, the list goes on. The industry contributes around 90 billion to the economy, or almost 2% of the GDP. The creative economy employment accounted for 7% of all the jobs in South Africa in 2017. And this means that 1.14 million jobs in South Africa were directly related in some way to cultural and creative activities. So young people make up the majority of the South African population, with 77.6% being under 35. So the workforce in the creative sector is predominantly young people. This is a sector that can make a difference to massive unemployment figures in the country. Let's let that sink in. Yesterday, horrific news report that we heard of, in the news that South Africa is one of the countries that is battling big numbers of unemployment. Unemployment is persistent. Inequality is persistent. So is poverty. So we're not in a good space, but there's hope. We live in hope to be the difference that we want to see by making local purchasing decisions, as we go along, in an effort to really make a difference, and most importantly, for the betterment of our economy. So the creative industry has been pivotal in uplifting society by supporting brands, government, and healthcare in their need to communicate during the pandemic. We all know that we are navigating unprecedented times, and it's difficult. It's difficult for small businesses, for entrepreneurs. It's difficult for even big businesses. We read on a daily basis companies that have had to retrench, that have had to scale down their workforce. It's really not a good space to be in. But today we are here to celebrate this particular industry, and particularly women who really are amazing professionals in their space. So with that said, and with that background given, I get a fuzzy feeling every time that we play our commercial, as proudly South African named Game Time Mzansi, which seeks to speak, specifically to some of the points that I've made, where we created this commercial last year during lockdown, and it was really it is still an emotive message where we are asking South Africans to pause a little bit and rethink their loyalty to local brands, to local products, to local content, whether on television or on radio, and to the local economy, by ensuring that their purchasing decisions are in favor of anything and everything local that is good quality, that is well priced, and that is accessible, and that is made by South Africans for South Africans. Can we have Game Time Mzansi on screen?
The second half is about to begin. We need to change the scoreboard. It's time for all of us to pause and rethink the game plan in order to save the future. I call on all of us to be game changers, because greatness isn't reserved only for some people. By buying local, we're choosing to create jobs and sustain the ones we have. Time and time again, South Africans have taken destiny into their own hands, creating products that the rest of the world wanted to buy. See, the world remembers about us, what we sometimes forget. But it's time for change. Let's all buy local. It's Game Time Mzansi.
Local is lekker.
Your everyday decisions shape our future.
Let's all buy local Mzansi. It's game time. I didn't say that. Our King of Wakanda said it, Dr. John Gani. He says, let us buy local to ensure that the future we are hoping for does become a reality. Let's buy local. Talk about local. Today we're talking creative arts, but fashion is also creative arts, right? And I'm paying the bills now. I'm dressed by David Klale, King David, the one and only. And one of our guests is also dressed by David Klale. She got them. I said nothing. She just did the right thing. Namsa, there we go. Namsa is on my left-hand side, and she is also dressed by David Klale. Don't let anybody tell you local is not lekker. I'm going to say it myself. Do we not look cool? Do we not look cool? We do look cool. Local is lekker. Let us buy local and support local. Not because shame. We feel sorry for, our products and our brands, because we are damn good at what we do. We are damn good. David Klale is just as good. And this is why we look so cool. Thank you, David. You remain a force to be reckoned with. So without further ado, we all want to win something. I'd like to win something, but unfortunately, this is not my gig to win something. But we have a competition today. If you look at your screen, there's a QR code. All you need to do is to grab your phone, take a picture of that code, follow the details, and it'll take you straight to the competition, to the T's and C's. But you can win an amazing prize today. And the prize is a combo, a local combo. So what you see on the screen is a flat screen from Hisense, and Hisense is a member of the Proudly South African campaign. And together with the flat screen is a decoder from our friends at MultiChoice, and that decoder is also locally made. What an amazing prize that you stand to win. But and listen in and pay attention to what what I'm going to say, because the answer is what is in what I'm going to say. And the question is where where are these products made? You can surprise us with the information and find out, which area in the country these are made. Find out as much as you can, and you stand to win a chance. You stand to win rather that fabulous combo that you saw on the screen. And now I'd like to introduce our stunning ladies. I've got 2 ladies in the studio, but the rest of them are online. Who are connecting with us this morning. And I want to start off with, in the studio, can be zoomed to a lady called Espresso. Guys, I've always thought that my name, Happy, is a trap. If a parent and God and your ancestors say your name is Happy, you can't afford to walk around with a long face, until I came across Espresso. Amen. Then I came across Espresso. Which parent gives their name Espresso? What must happen? There must be a story behind it. Espresso, hello.
Hi.
Amen. So Espresso's name is Noktula, but we prefer to call her Espresso. She's art director from Seriti Films. I believe it's your nickname, childhood nickname.
It's a childhood nickname I've had. My uncle was a journalist.
Yes.
I was a big baby.
Okay.
But I moved,
Yeah.
And also, I'm dark-skinned
Okay.
in the family, and he was obsessed with coffee.
Okay.
So he's like, this child is not natural.
Yeah. Okay.
Hyperactive, she's dark, and for someone her size,
Yeah.
she can move.
Yeah.
She's explosive. So
Okay.
it just stuck. He's like, this is an espresso.
Yeah.
It's not your normal coffee, this one.
First of all, your uncle likes things. Espresso is for our white folks. We don't drink espresso, but it's fine, because so it's about the fact that you're dark. Let me tell you, you are beautiful. Your skin, your tone is amazing, and hence the name Espresso. Then it matches. And from a KZN, I can imagine what happened there. You know what I've just realized lately is that everybody in KZN still refers to Connie Ferguson as Garabo. They don't know who she is. Yeah. They say Garabo. You must figure it out. You know who is. So I can imagine that, growing up in that environment, Espresso, you were complicating people's lives, honestly.
I was just one of those girls.
Okay. So you are art director, and your work, some of the work that you've done, director of what is on our screens, Gomorrah.
Yes, I art directed Gomorrah.
Gomorrah, you directed Gomorrah, but you also directed, what is the other, the recent work?
House of Sweden.
House of
ETV,
Sweden.
yes.
And that is about fashion, ne?
Yes, it is about fashion.
There's a missing link there. The proudly South African link, where they get their fabric from, the jobs behind that whole production, but I'm started following it. I started watching it a few days ago in preparation for this. Great work.
Thank you.
Great work with amazing, renowned actors, renowned actors. Great work. So this is what Espresso does for a living, and we want to throw a spanner in the works because we can, and because we love her name, we think it's unique. We want to serve her a cup of espresso on set. May we have the espresso, please? May we have there's a cup of espresso for espresso.
Thank you.
There we go. Enjoy your espresso while we engage with you. This is how we roll. Proudly South African.
Pretty cool.
Pretty cool. Hey?
Pretty cool.
You didn't see that one coming. Thank you so much, Espresso. So lovely to see you. The next guest is Namsa Piliso, who is here in studio with us. Shall we see Namsa, please? Namsa is a MultiChoice Channel Director, Local Entertainment. Listen, I call Namsa the broadcasting queen. Just Google and you will understand and have an appreciation of where I'm coming from. She is the undisputed, really, prove me wrong. She is the undisputed queen of broadcasting. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Happy. Thank you for having me.
And big ups, 10 out of 10 for wearing local.
It's a pleasure.
And going to our member, one of our members, David, to let him sort you out. Fantastic. So experience.
By the way, I didn't have to go get him sort me out.
Yes.
This was in my wardrobe.
It was in your wardrobe.
Yes, it wasn't for this.
So you walk the talk.
Exactly.
It's got nothing to do with today's discussion.
No.
Listen, if you don't
Ask
learn
him.
from, I will ask him. No, I believe you. I won't ask him. I believe you. If you don't take a page from Namsa's book, then really we can't help you. We cannot help you. 25 years and more of experience in the broadcasting world. Your channel is, there's no question, leader of the pack from a local content perspective.
Absolutely, absolutely. We really try to answer the call.
Yes.
To local content and give people what they want.
Absolutely, and tell our stories.
Yes.
Because if we don't, as much as I like him, Idris Elba will come in and then tell our story.
Yeah, and it's important for us to do that, and that's why I think the one thing that sets us apart is how authentically we tell the stories.
Yes.
We don't try to be something that we are not.
Yeah.
And it's not just in South Africa, even in all our other regions, we promote the local narration of all the stories that we tell.
I can tell you for free that between 6 in the evenings to 10 in the evenings, we are all, South Africans are captured.
Yep.
Given the local content that we consume on all the various channels, from your platform.
Now, our landscape is, look, it's an interesting place to be at when, the players are bringing it, because then we are constantly challenged. Yeah. And the creatives are under pressure to bring it all the time.
Fabulous. All righty, we move on to, I have on the screen, please, I'd like to welcome Thandi. May we have Thandi? And keep Thandi on screen. Oh, all of them are here. Great. Well done. Well done. None of us are sleeping on the job. Hey, Thandi, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Fantastic. So Thandi is founding partner and executive producer, Storyscope, and co-chairperson. Listen, Thandi, your whole profile is a long story. But let me start again. So Thandi is founding partner and executive producer, Storyscope, and co-chairperson of the Independent Producers Organization. Thandi, we couldn't have this discussion around creative arts industry without your voice in it. There's Thandi. Without your voice in it, thank you so much for heeding our call and saying yes to talking to us today. It is an important industry, right?
Oh, completely important, both in terms of its contribution to our country's economy, but also in terms of the fact that we carry the stories of our people, both telling our stories here and exporting them globally. We're part of the zeitgeist of our society, fundamentally, as an industry.
Yes, fantastic. And the creative arts industry is so broad. It lives, it's not only television and radio, it's arts and it's dance and it's, there's so much that we're going to talk about today. And we're hoping that when we finish this discussion, a lot of our audiences will walk away with an appreciation of what it really, really means. Thank you, Thandi. We'll chat to you just now. Fantastic. May I please introduce Desiree?
Hi.
Hello. Hi, Desiree. Welcome.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Thank you. I'm very good this morning. Thank you.
Fantastic. Desiree Makraf is Managing Director and Executive Producer of the Bomb Shelter Productions. The Bomb Shelter Productions have done so much work in the industry. I mean, I was reading your profile yesterday and I was like, wow. You're one of those ladies who are really honestly not celebrated enough. How do you feel about the contribution you've made in the industry, Desiree?
I feel blessed, actually. I mean, it's wonderful to be able to contribute to the industry, but it's a great industry to be part of. And Happy, I noticed the Proudly South African ad that you played was produced by Mom, by one of our young directors who joined us straight out of film school and has grown and produced that beautiful ad. So I was so excited to see it.
Oh, that's wonderful. He was amazing, by the way. That whole team was, I mean, it was in the middle of lockdown. We got the necessary permission and all of that, but they were absolutely amazing. They gave such life into the idea that we had. So there we go. We do work with local producers, local companies, and because we also want to make a difference. Okay, thank you so much, Des. We'll speak to you just now again. All right, and the last but not least is Carrie Chapman. Is Carrie there? Carrie,
there I am.
Hello, Carrie. So
Hi.
Carrie is a principal of the Helen O'Grady School or
Drama Academy.
Drama Academy. There we go. Listen, Carrie, I think you're the most patient and resilient lady I know who has to deal with little people. And get them to pay attention and get them to listen to you and get their creative juices flowing and ultimately, produce a production that you can gladly and proudly present to the parents. Why do you do that to yourself?
It's such a joyful environment. So the kids love it. So it's not very hard to keep them focused because we keep them moving, we keep them creative. They're in a beautiful space of creativity. So yeah, it actually brings me more joy. Sometimes we get one or two that are a bit painful. Majority of the time, it's a beautiful space.
Absolutely. So we're going to continue this chat with you because, very soon you're going to have to go teach little people somewhere out there. But I also want to get into the discussion about what does it mean to you, Carrie, from a local content perspective and from a job creation perspective. I've been exposed to some of the work that you do. I do know that you have quite a number of people working with you behind the scenes. Those are jobs, those are wages, those are households, and that's a livelihood that your academy is creating. You're an enabler to that situation. What does it feel? What does it mean to you as an academy principal who's doing such important work and making a difference in all of those aspects?
Yeah, I think what I wanted to do was provide a platform for people to not just go into acting, but to perhaps teach drama as well to kids. So I had a student who started with me and she was 9 and now she's 23. She went through our mentorship program where I taught her how to teach. She studied film and she's found her passion in teaching. So we've just provided a platform where youngsters can come through our academy and then just pass it on. And now we've got another 3 students who are going through our mentorship program and then they will be teaching drama as well. So it's important that we can keep the passion going because they were passionate students and now they're able to teach just as passionately to youngsters from the ages of 5 all the way up.
Yeah. And you've touched on a very important aspect in the sense that you are the skills development there, because you've just alluded to the fact that when one of your she started off at 9 and she's 23 and now she teaches. There's clearly skills development. So it's not it's not just about coming in and dancing and jumping up and down and walk away. You've created a career.
Yeah, exactly. And she, it has to come from the person. So she was the one who approached me and said, as a teenager, can I just come and shadow you in class? And she was our first person that went through like the mentorship. And now we've developed it so that we can have our other teenage students that want to be involved in acting and they don't have jobs at the moment to go and act in the industry, but they want to teach and they want to still be in that creative space. So yeah, we're just providing a platform for that.
Yeah. And where do you operate, Carrie, in terms of the province? Are you only in Gauteng, or do you have a presence in other provinces?
Yeah, we're all over South Africa, East London, Cape Town, PE, Durban, Pietermaritzburg. We're all over. It's a franchise, and there's the franchises across the country are just as passionate as I am. And the academy is a beautiful academy for communication skills and developing children from 5 years all the way up to adults.
Yeah. All righty. And my next question is, where, in terms of what can you describe the value chain to us, in terms of the work, the space that you're in? Can you just highlight the value chain and how important that is? Because, most of us, we just, I don't think we have an appreciation of what the dance space is about. We just see what we see on stage. We have no, understanding of what goes on behind the scenes. Outside of the people that you employ, what does the value chain look like?
So we're a community-based program, so our classes are very reasonable. We're not overpriced. We're trying to reach children in the community. So we rent out church halls, we rent out school halls, and we really try and get into each community, such as Rand Park Ridge and Northcliffe. We go into the recreation centres there. And because our fees are so low, we're able to reach as many children as possible. So parents are able to afford the classes. And obviously our aim is to give all children opportunity to be exposed to the arts and drama, but also to be able to communicate and socialize in beautiful ways that are going to help the world at the end of the day.
Fantastic, Carrie. I hope, I wish we had more time to talk to you about this, but I know there's little people waiting for you somewhere out there for you to do
Thanks,
I will, before I let you go, though, I am going to throw you under a little bus, a smaller yana bus, not a house train.
As long as it's small.
It's a smaller yana one. There's something missing in this whole equation. At some point, you reached out to us and you said to us, I want to join the movement. And then what happened?
Then I got distracted with my 300 students.
300
I'm on it,
students.
Happy. I'm on it.
You're on it. Fantastic. Listen,
Yeah,
we know where you live. We know your ID number. We know your spouse's phone number. We will find you, Carrie, if you disappear on us. But please join the movement.
I won't, I promise.
We'd love to have you as a member of Proudly South African. It'll be fantastic. But for now, go do what you do best. Go try and get some attention from those little people. Not everybody can do it. You've got to have the love, the patience, and you've got to be a special lady to be able to produce what you produce. Thank you so much, Carrie. It was lovely seeing you on the line. All righty. Thank you.
Bye-bye,
so
everybody.
Much. Bye. That was Carrie Chapman. She is the principal of the Helen O'Grady Academy. And like you heard, she has, presence in most of her provinces in the country. Check them out on Google, and she does. Carrie and her staff do amazing, amazing things. Fantastic. Thank you so much, Carrie. So now, what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our espresso. And talk to her about the work that she does. So give us an idea. You're on set. The production is coming. Everybody is on standby. All the background stuff has been done. The stylists have been on set. The makeup artists have done what they need to do. Everybody has gone through their lines. What happens? What do you do? What is your day-to-day job?
I think the best way for me to try and explain it is take you back. Okay. From pre-production, from when you get the script.
Right.
Because I get this question quite a lot. It's, what does an art director do? And you have to give someone like a clear answer so they understand it. So imagine this is Happy. Happy walks in and has a show. But everything that you see around Happy, that's what we do. Placing that on that exact spot, how everything looks, how do we support Happy in her character and tell her story using the background. So art department creates a background so that the actor can feel and be the character. And you walk in and you're like, okay, I'm not happy who's at home, who's dealing with kids. Now I'm happy at work. We create the work environment for you.
Right.
So that's what art department does. It's from your makeup, it's your hair, it's this carpet, it's what you're sitting on. How does it all balance? Finding the balance so that when someone sees it and like, wow, that's a pretty picture. Art department.
Fantastic. And you've touched on a very important reality of what happens there. You've just mentioned the couch I'm sitting on, the makeup, the hair, the styling. What is your understanding of exactly what that is? Because those are jobs, isn't it?
Those are jobs.
Those are jobs.
Yes.
Those are real jobs. The fact that somebody takes care of a face beat is not, you can't be underplayed. Somebody gets paid to do it.
It's a skill.
It's a skill.
It's a skill.
It's art.
Yeah.
Isn't it art?
It is. It's a skill. And you guys just touched on something very important. You spoke about skills development.
Yeah.
And for me, that's something very important, when you have someone or a mentor or someone who's going to help you grow your skill. Because with each and every department, every person has a purpose. And everyone's skill is needed for that picture to happen. There's no one who's greater than another person.
Yeah.
Everyone's skill is important.
Even the person who behind the scenes cleans up,
Yes.
Boils the water for coffee, because the production could be the whole day.
Yeah.
People need to eat. People need to, to freshen up. People need. Those are jobs which then contribute to that figure that I mentioned when I opened the session, which is 90 billion. 90 billion a contribution to the economy, in terms of the space of the arts industry. Yeah,
that's a big number.
it's a big number.
So
It's
it can't be
a huge
underplayed.
Yes, it cannot
The
be.
industry cannot be underplayed. It plays a huge role.
Yeah.
And apart from us playing a huge role, in a major scale, we
Yes.
play a huge role to a household, to someone who's just come back from home, who's had a stressful day, puts on the TV, and they can escape
Yeah.
to another reality,
Yeah.
We play the psychiatrist, we play the friend. The commercials, they calm you down. You don't feel alone, So we also play a very important part in an individual and also in a community. So it can't be underplayed.
I like that, because ultimately, when we are all here, when all of this is done and dusted, we are individuals.
We're individuals.
We are human beings, right? And the people that you're talking about, the person that you've just said gets home and, whatever the case may be, they might be a breadwinner, by the way. Meaning they need that job for them to be able to take care of everybody else. We come from the black tax reality, right? Where our salary does not only just,
Cover you.
Cover you.
Yeah.
It covers other people who mean something to you, obviously. Here's my next question before I move on to our next guest. When you're sitting at home and you're switching on your flat screen that is made locally, using the multi-choice decoder, and you see your work on television, how does that make you feel as a woman?
It's amazing. It's happy. I don't know how to describe it for you to fully get what it feels like.
Yeah.
It's amazing, because also you remember the process and everything you went through
Yeah.
for that to happen,
Yes.
because people don't understand what happens behind the scenes.
Yeah.
There's a lot of tension. It's long hours. We all want to produce. Mistakes happen. We help
Yes.
each other. Someone's going to be down and depressed, and you have to pull that person because you need them. So it's a journey. So when you're finally sitting there and you're watching it, it's surreal. It's like, this is my work. With every single project you do, it feels fresh. It feels fresh. It feels interesting, and you want to judge yourself, but you also need to give yourself a pat on the back.
Yeah.
And say, well done.
Absolutely.
Because if you don't give yourself a pat on the back first, you can't expect the world to do it for
Yes.
you.
Yeah.
Raise yourself first.
Yes.
And look at it and go like, wow,
Yeah.
great job.
No, great job indeed. I'm a fan of Gomorrah.
Yeah.
In fact, I can hear that voice, Gomorrah. Ha ha ha. I can hear that. But also the way you absorb us into the storyline. I mean, last night I wanted to smack Melusi. I'm like, this guy, can't you figure it out that you are caught with your hand in the cookie jar? You know, why are you acting surprised? What did I do? What did I do? Why is my family angry at me? I want to go into that screen and say, Wena, you know, do you not know what you did? So that's how you manage to really bring us into the story where we fall in love with the storyline. I don't know how to feel about the Shibin Queen. I'll call her. I don't know. I love her, but then I hate her. You really just, you know, we are we are within.
It feels like it's your neighborhood. You can step outside and these people, they live right here.
You know what I mean? Exactly. Oh, but
so that goes back to great script writing.
Yeah.
You know, as I said, every department is important. If the script can still hold you and you're there and you're like,
yeah,
as a person who wasn't even involved,
yeah,
then it means we're doing something right.
Absolutely, absolutely. But guys, what nearly, you know, that nearly made me want to land up on the floor was this wig snatching. Your wig can't be snatched during the people in public. I mean, that was like, I didn't see that coming. But her wig was, you know, snatched. And then, you know what we put underneath the wig? She was just, you know, chilling there with no hair. Okay, no, I did not say that. That is drama. That's real drama. OTT, very OTT. So Namsa, all of this, you are an enabler.
Yeah.
You know, so she can be amazing and come up with this, you know, and come up with the storyline and be involved in all parts of her work. Great. But then you need an enabler. You need the content to sit somewhere. Which is where your audiences come in.
Yeah.
You know, and what informs that decision?
I think for us, maybe also just maybe to take you back as well, to say that in terms of MultiChoice being the biggest pay TV operator in the country, the responsibility that we have finds expression in the platform of the local content, but it goes beyond that, you know, from how we manufacture the decoders and creating jobs from that front, and also how we also participate in the global space by making sure that our content also just, you know, does not only live in South Africa but also gets exported. So it's an important thing for us to be able to understand the different markets that we work in. So from a South African perspective, we do a lot of research all of the time, because as a challenger brand, everybody is coming for you, right? So you would know how MultiChoice broke the mold with Isibaya, and everybody came for that. So we are always a trendsetter, and therefore the pressure is huge in terms of identifying what is the next thing, right? So we do a lot of research, we understand our audiences, and we try as far as possible to make sure that what we put on screen resonates.
Yeah.
Because if it doesn't resonate, I mean, the audiences are the easiest people. They're either in or out. If you get it right, they'll stay with you. You don't, they just leave, right? So it's
because there's options.
There's
Namsa?
options.
Yeah.
There's options, and so we are always mindful to say what story are we telling, and we also have a responsibility in terms of telling the stories and not just glorifying them, but also you will see that a lot of the stuff that we do, as much as it is entertainment, there's a lot of education that is weaved into it to say, what are the social things that we need to be talking about? You know, what are the concerns that we need to be talking? So we try as much as possible to be as real as we can, and it gives expression in all our shows.
And what is your local content criteria?
So our local content criteria for all the regions that we're in is that it must be a South African company. There must be South Africans that are working in it. Everything in it must be mostly South Africans. We do have co-productions where we partner with international companies, but for our local content, we are clear that everything must be local. From everything, from the person that works, from the person that writes, from the person that directs, everybody, you know. And I think for me, the big thing about working for MultiChoice is that I've really learned the value of being intentional about everything that you do, because it doesn't happen on its own, right? We make sure that we're intentional about it, and we make sure that we bring people up as we go.
Yes.
Of course, there isn't enough of a kitty to accommodate everybody, but as far as possible, we try. I mean, you will see that in the past probably 2-3 years, you see a lot of young women coming through as directors, you know, your Dineo Ranakas, you know, everybody's coming to their own. And they've paid their dues, right? So they've started, they've worked at it for...
They've started somewhere.
Yeah, and now they, you know, they're producing. We're starting to see people that were on screen other than your Connie Ferguson's. You're starting to see Bo Ayanda Buroto coming through with Mobile, you know. So it's just about keeping at it and chipping away at it as far as you can.
Yeah. Wow, and you know, so I'm going to, and the local content aspect of it that you've just touched on resonates with us at Proudly South African so much, because we've got 4 criteria at Proudly South African to bring a product in and say, yes, it is really local as lekker. We need to be sure. We can't just say that because this cup looks cute. You know, so we look at local content, and in our world, 50% or more has got to be local content, at least 50%, not less. So we understand that there's components of a product that you may have to bring in, because maybe the country does not have enough. Like, we don't have enough fabric, we know that. So we understand, but the actual making of the product has to be made by South Africans. You know, for South Africans and for the South African economy. So we very much align. This is why it makes sense that MultiChoice partners with the Proudly South African, right?
But
you know what I mean? We've got the same object. Let's not reinvent the wheel. We know what we want. Here's the thing, Namsa. So, how do you view local versions of international shows, e.g. MasterChef, Survivor South Africa, that type of thing?
Look, as South Africa, we're part of the globe, right? So with all the options that you talked about, people have access to these things, right? So, and using formats it's not something to be frowned upon, because it is something that actually makes you part of the global world. So we do find that the local audiences actually enjoy adaptations. You know, they enjoy adaptations because sometimes when they're watching MasterChef, and they're like, oh, but why don't we do it ourselves? And then we give them the opportunity. It is a bit expensive to do formats, comparatively speaking, but we do know that they actually enjoy it. So, yeah.
Fantastic. So I'm going to come back to you, Namsa, but I want to say this to you, Expresso. There's somebody, her name is Lerato Malupe.
Yes.
And she says, these are my combo, she's very excited, these are my combo shows. I produced music for Gomora in capital letters and shot a music video in Gomora. You know Lerato?
Lerato?
Malupe.
Sounds very familiar.
Sounds familiar. Okay, but she's gone out and publicly says she is, you know, she's excited about this discussion because you took her back to a beautiful place. So she produced music for Gomora, another woman. See, behind the scenes, music plays in this space, creative arts. There we go. There's the link.
There's always a link.
There's always a link. There's always a link, which makes me happy because it means we are on the right track. But with that said, quickly before we go to our next speaker online, that character on Gomora actually reminds me of Sasa's son. Nomsa's son, Kabelo, reminds me of the character Ntokozo. Have you not been told? There's something.
He's been told.
Has he been told? Do you believe it as a mom?
No. I can see the yellow pony.
Yellow pony.
But yeah, I can see the yellow pony.
So I know Nomsa's son. Nomsa and I are colleagues, by the way. Let's declare.
Yeah.
Ne? Let's declare. Let's declare. And we live in the same neighborhood.
Yeah.
So we do, you know, bump into each other at this local spa or whatever the case may be. So I know Kabelo. And now that we're talking Gomora, it took me straight to Ntokozo. I can see a Kabelo there. Yeah. Don't be surprised. Just now he says he wants to act. I'm warning you.
Oh, no.
Don't be surprised. Just now Kabelo hits you with a mummy. I think I'm ready to act.
And it is Ntokozo Sishi, Expresso Sishi.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Ntokozo Sishi, Expresso Sishi. Who's Ntokozo Sishi?
The character
that you just spoke about.
His surname is Sishi.
Yes.
You see, now I learned something. So I watch them, ne? But I'm so, you know, caught up in the drama that I don't know the surnames. I just know it's Ntokozo and I want to smack his dad. And I So So today I learned something.
I love it.
Listen, I am in it. I'm in it. I'm the one that tells the guy who's about to get shot, look behind you. There's the gun. Me in the house. That's me. Oh Lord, they're gonna shoot you. Oh Lord. And then when there's a funeral, I switch off completely. I don't attend. No. No. I don't attend, and then I let that week pass, and then I go back, and then I drive my family mad because I say to them, "What happened last week? Why is this one hospital? Why is this one?" It's a mess, guys. It's a mess.
In our family.
You have a happy. Listen, they can't give you a name like Happy, and then you are just there's no drama. Okay, ladies, thank you so much. So I'm happy now to speak to our next guest, Desiree. But we have a lovely special welcome for Desiree. Are you ready? Hit us, guys, with Desiree's welcome.
Is there something you're not telling me?
On my quest to build an empire, there's one thing I've learned. Trust no one. Jacob's Cross, weekdays at 8 p.m. on Mzansi Wetu.
She's too much, she's much. And too much, she's very much, Joe.
Uzamano testify.
Lo muntu lo hamba naye uzokufaka etitibeni.
Kasika ke ngiphupha ubanzi ngimhlinya.
I said get out now.
Sobambana ngezandla siyinqobe sobabili.
The fight continues. Isithembiso. Isibaya. It's love and war. Monday to Friday at 8:30 p.m. on Mzansi Magic, channel 161, exclusive to DSTV.
Desiree, there isn't any other way to welcome you. And you know, I've come up with the word that I thought of last night, and I prefer to call you the Kasi Storyteller Queen. Do you agree?
Well, it was so fantastic to see that compilation. I don't know where you got all that material, but I have to say it actually made me a bit emotional because it took me back to each production that one mounts it's like your own baby. You fall in love with the stories, you fall in love with the characters. There's this fantastic team of people, the crew and cast and the broadcasters. So each production just is filled with its own memories. So when you just took me down like a massive explosion of memories and actually made me feel a bit.
And that's exactly what we were hoping to achieve. So when I sat with the team and I said, go find her work, because that's exactly what we wanted to do, to take you down memory lane. But to really just ask you to sit back and let it sink in, Desiree. Let it sink in. I mean, Yizo, I was, most of us were still very young at the time, and we could relate to Yizo. You know what I mean? It was our story, and there was so much action, and there were characters that we fell in love with. And this is 20 years later. Am I correct? I think it's like 20 years later, something like that. Yizo.
Yeah, almost 25 years now. It's a long time ago.
It's a long time ago. And look at how young those characters are. Listen, they mustn't even open their mouths. We can show them the before and after. we can show them a before. But Desiree, I mean, you are such a trailblazer, and you are telling us stories so well. I'm so excited about your your current production, Ushaga. I remember we came to see you 2 years ago in your offices, and we were talking local content, this and that. And you mentioned Ushaga at that point, and here it is now. Clearly, you know, there's a lot of work going on behind the scenes. I think we should pick up that conversation as we go along. But what I do want to ask you, Des, is it important to portray cultural issues in a positive light in your work?
Yes, I think so, very much. I mean, I think that BOM as a company, if I go back even to Yizo Yizo, really we try and look at what the zeitgeist of the country is at the time. You know, 25 years ago, there was very little Kasi representation on television. There were very little stories being told that were real, authentic South African stories. We'd just come out of apartheid. And, you know, as a team of people, we were excited about telling stories about real people, about the majority of South Africans. And so over the years, I think what's been important for us is to feel, what do audiences want? Where is South Africa? What's the mood of the country? When do we need to be honest with ourselves? When do we need something that's going to make us laugh and forget about the difficulties that we're in? But through it all, I think cultural representation has been really important for us to, in a way, you know, readdress, you know, so many years of culture being completely off the radar on our television screens and in our newspapers. And even though it was incredibly lived by people, there was no representation of it. So I think, you know, having representation on television is about reaffirming who we are as people, and also, you know, showcasing how beautiful South African and the many cultures that they are. So, you know, of course, Isibaya was a big representation of Zulu culture when we started that 7 years ago. And we were unsure how that would resonate with audiences. And it was just fantastic to see not only how audiences loved the show, but also the ability to be able to play with language and to put a spotlight on language and on cultural practices and just the beauty of traditions, clothing. So, you know, I think that everything that we are, culture is at the heart of who we are. And it's not just big culture, it's even how we eat, what we eat, and who eats what. Yeah. That tells us who we are as people.
Absolutely. Everything local tells us who we are. Whatever it is, whether it's clothing, food, music, television, like you said. And I have a bone to pick with you, Desiree. In fact, I don't know which, you know, who to pick the bone with, you or Namsa. Because you mentioned Isibaya. Listen, Isibaya was my gig. And then somebody pulled it off air. And my favorite character was Mandla. He was my dude. Always ready. Mandla was my dude. Isibaya, you were not done. You know what I mean? That story, it was not done, guys. I'm speaking on behalf of South Africans.
Well, thank you for that. I mean, I think the thing with, you know, all good things have to come to an end at some stage, and you've got to give other people opportunities to tell stories, and maybe one day, Namsa, maybe one day we'll do a little retrospective of Isibaya, or I don't know, we'll see. But it was a really joyful show to work on, and you know, I felt like in the 7 years that we did it, I learned so much, but also it was fantastic to engage with South Africans and to just see how people loved the show. That was really, yeah, it was special. And in fact, we're in the studio with you now, Happy. Myself, Namsa, and Expresso are all behind the scenes on Shaka. So Shaka has some strong women behind the scenes happening now.
Wow.
Now like you did in real life. You know, there was Mkabai and Nandi.
Wow. Now you tell me. So we've got the brains behind Ushaga. We can hardly wait. In fact, a little birdie, Expresso did tell me that I'm with BOM now. You know, she did whisper in my ear with such excitement. Now I see where the link is. Now I have an appreciation of the link. Just so amazing. So also, Des, how do you treat your storylines that are very sensitive, e.g., for example, GBV or toxic masculinity? How do you navigate around that?
You know, I think all drama that we create, underneath it, there's always an opportunity to explore the real challenges that we're facing in society. You know, in the last season of Isibaya, actually Namsa and I had a lot of conversations about this around the story of Pumelele, you know, her emancipation. And it was so interesting to explore a story like this around women are often perceived to bring negative things onto themselves. I mean, you see it so often in GBV, but what did she do to make him so angry? You know, she must have done something to deserve the way that her husband treated her. And so for us, really, you know, stories like that are about looking at the characters that surround the character that is experiencing something like that, and handling it in multiple layers. That is, you know, it was, that particular story was very difficult for the actress, Ayanda Barota. It was very difficult for her to go through a story of her own emancipation when her family was so against her, so angry for what she was doing. And she was just trying to live her own life. So, you know, I think even one's got to be very careful on set when you tell those kind of stories. You've got to discuss it with the crew, with the cast, with the directors. You've certainly got to put the cast into places where they feel comfortable. You know, right down on set, if you're doing scenes that have got physical violence or abuse, how you handle that. That's about gently discussing those things with the cast and the directors to make sure that everybody feels comfortable in the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's such a pity that as a people, we like you've rightfully said now, that if a woman goes through a GBV situation, the first question is, what did she do? And my answer is always, it doesn't matter. You know, it's not deserving of what the outcome is. I mean, I remember when I was in a situation, an altercation with a man at a very public gym. And fast forward, cut a long story short, we ended up in court because I took him to court because I felt that if it was a man, he would have treated me differently. And I took it to court and I won the case, criminal injuria, because he called me all sorts of names. And I won the case convincingly. And a few days later, I was on Expresso show on SABC3, being interviewed about, you know, whether I felt, you know, validated and how I felt about it and what this whole experience, because it took a year of having to relive the experience of being, you know, being poked in the forehead, being told, you know, he's going to kill me, calling all sorts of derogatory names. And for me to have to be intentional and decide, I don't necessarily have witnesses, but I'm going to take him on. And the court of law will decide, and the court of law found me to be a credible witness, given all the facts. And he was found guilty of criminal injuria, and his sentence was to go work at the Baragwana mortuary to clean corpse, to have an appreciation of a black person, whether they are dead or alive. That was his sentence. Wow. And I felt that if it was a man, and when I went to Expresso, it was heartbreaking to see all the people most people who commented, who phoned in, who sent their questions. Their question was, what did she do to him? And we were fighting for parking space, by the way. That's what I did. You know what I mean?
Sure.
We're parking. I was trying to drive out of a parking space, but in his view, and he was spotting that parking space, and I was taking too long because I was busy with my lipstick in the car. That's what I did. So it's a pity to see that it lives everywhere. It really lives across. It doesn't matter what the issue is. So Desiree, thank you for that. And are there subjects that you wouldn't touch? Okay, yes, please go ahead.
So, I just wanted to say on that, I think that, in storytelling, it's one thing to tell these stories, but what really is important about what you've just said is, what do you do afterwards? And, I know that one of our themes today is fix her crown.
Yes.
And it is about, in that moment, saying, on television, on the stories that we tell, when we tell a story of GBV or something, that has happened to a woman, is what do you do? Is to tell the story of how to support that person, where that person can go. How do you support? Sometimes supporting is just listening. Sometimes supporting is saying, I know somebody who can help you. Sometimes supporting is together standing up for that person. But I think, your story that you've just told now is really inspiring, because to anybody out here who's heard that story, it's to say, hey, you can do something about it. And here's one of the things that you can do. And I think that's our responsibility as storytellers, is not only to tell the story of something and reflect to our society what it is that we're doing, because I think sometimes we have to show the bad things that we are. We can't only show the nice things. Absolutely. But then to say, well, how do we fix it?
And I couldn't agree with you. It's about fixing each other's crowns. So when you do know about a woman who's going through the most, and their crown is skew a little bit in the midst of all of it, how do you fix her crown and be there, like you say, even if it's just to listen? You know what I mean? Even if I can tell you now that I was, most people who meant well said, you stand no chance. Just forget about it and walk away. But I chose not to, because I chose to be the voice of women who didn't know they have a voice. I chose to step in and say, if anything like this happens to you, there is an avenue, there is a way. It might not be clear, it might be very foggy, but there is a way. How do we fix each other's crowns? Thank you so much, Desiree. So what storyline would you not touch? It's like, what do we say in typical Kasi language? Andizi. Yay, Andizi.
There's no storyline. There's no storyline I wouldn't touch. I think that it is how you touch it. I think it is being sensitive. I think it is doing research. It's very easy to tell a glib story without thinking about what are the repercussions of that story and what's the revenge effect of that story. I think you always have to think about that. But I don't think that there's a story that anybody should not touch. We're human beings, and the experience of being human, even the bad things, is important for us to talk about, because that's how we learn, and that's how we grow, and that's how we build a better society.
Yeah. And I'm certainly not done, Des, but just one more thing for this section is, do you still think there's more South African stories to be told? I mean, let alone Shaga. We know we must tell the story of, because in my view, Shaga is Henry Cele. When you mention Shaga, to me is Henry Cele, there must be another story. Go ahead, Des.
Henry Cele was a magnificent Shaka. I think that there are so many stories to be told, and we haven't even started to touch on our own history. And one of the reasons why we are telling Shaka Ilembe is we're not only telling Shaka's story, we are telling Godongwane's story, and Zwide's story, and Ntombaze's story, and Mkaba's story. And we're telling a story, a pre-colonial story of the kings and queens who lived in, the Southern African basin at that time. And there were 80 paramountcies. And in all of those paramountcies, there were stories. So we have got stories for days to tell. Yeah. And I think this is just the beginning. We're just scratching the surface with it. So for me, I'm so excited about it. If it's nothing more than opening the door for many other people to tell stories about our incredible history, and specifically our pre-colonial history, because those stories haven't been told. You switch on your TV, you look at Google, you can't see any stories that are pre-colonial. Everything, all African history is constantly from, as Miriam Makeba said, when white people arrived, that's when Africa was discovered. Of course, that's absolute nonsense. And so these stories are really important for us to be telling, and I hope many more people are going to start telling them.
Okay, fantastic. Desiree, when I'm done with my work at Proudly South African and maybe I want to step into something else, somebody on, not me, I never said it, it's here. Hey, the name is Jabu Vichima. She says, Happy, that's a story, that story would make a great movie. I didn't say anything. Guys, the evidence is here. It wasn't me. Of the guy going to court and the whole story. I'm just saying, guys, somebody is saying to you, there's a job. When I retire, fixing the country.
We'll speak after this.
We'll speak after. We'll speak after this. Thank you so much, Desiree. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Hang in there. We still have a lot to talk to you about. So far, so good. What I want to do now is to jump to, let me just look at the comments and PR. I think there's more people who may be talking to us in the public domain. Please get us the comments, the questions, the suggestions, all of those things that we would like to share with our guests here today. Thandi.
Yes.
Hello, Thandi. I'm hoping that you're enjoying all of this, what you've heard so far.
I am.
And you can't wait to chip in and let us know how you're fixing everybody's crown and your crown and how you're fixing the world. So Thandi is founding partner and executive producer at Story Scope, and she is co-chairperson, rather, Independent Producers Organization. Thandi has been in the industry for many years, doing what she does most. Which area of this discussion, Thandi, because you are speaking on behalf of the industry as a whole, whether it's television, radio, any form of art, which part of the discussion would you like to pick up on?
I think, the key thing is for me is looking after women in the sector.
Yeah.
And making sure that we come along. And, from a creative perspective, I think we're very often in front of the camera.
Yes.
It's important for there to be more and more of us behind the camera. And when I say behind the camera, as producers, as art directors, as Espresso is, but also as camera people, holding those cameras and putting a lens onto ourselves and creating music so that we're part of the value chain all the way through the sector, and not kind of put into and pigeonholed into what effectively is the female part or the female jobs, quite often kind of designated to women. That to me is really key, is ensuring that our voices are heard and that we are part of the value chain across the entire sector, and that we have careers in every part of the sector too.
And so can you comfortably say that one can make a living in South Africa as a creative?
Yeah, look, you're not going to earn as much as you do as a banker, for sure.
Do people that work in the bank have money?
Sorry?
People that work in the bank have money? Bankers?
Well,
so they have more money than all of us.
In the bank. Yes, there is. I think, but a lot of people get involved in this industry because they want to tell stories and they want to reflect on where they come from, and they want to engage with their futures through story, or even just reflect. Story is a lot of things. It's not just drama.
Yes.
The way we've been talking about Isibaya and Yizo. It's documentaries. It's reality TV. It's animation. There are numerous ways of telling stories. And I think that's why people come into the sector. There's an absolute love for storytelling. There's an absolute love for creativity. And yes, you can make a living. I think the joy about this industry is it's one of the very few where you don't have to have a degree behind you. You can really start at the bottom, making tea on a set, and find yourself in a couple of years being a DOP, for example. So it's one of the few sectors where you can really grow, come in, and start anywhere. And still find yourself at the top end of this industry, starting from the bottom up, and that's key for this industry. But also, as I said, the creativity, being able to tell stories, and for me, the importance is now getting women to tell their own stories. For years, our stories were written by men, they were produced by men, they were directed by men, and I think the joy of living in the 21st century now, and at this point in time, is that we have the ability to tell those stories ourselves and to reflect ourselves in the way that we actually are as women on screen and on set.
Yeah. And storytelling can also be in a painting. Am I correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Like,
this is what Espresso does. She paints a picture behind you. She ensures that you'd be quite surprised what happens on a set and what's behind someone on a screen is quite telling. And I always use the practical example. During apartheid, the government here was very strict about what we could see and what we couldn't see. And there was a poster in a sitcom that said "Free South Africa" and "Free Nelson Mandela." It had gotten past the censors. They hadn't picked up that on the wall in the set was this massive "Free South Africa" and "Free Nelson Mandela" poster, which of course shouldn't have gotten past the censors in the country, but it did. So when you're talking about, for example, art directing, those subtle things are there. They send messages when you're thinking you're only considering the actors, what's behind them saying something too. Yeah.
But listen, so I wanna just throw a spanner in the works. So there's a local creative guy whose name is Rasta. Hi guys, we have to talk about Rasta. No, we have to talk about Rasta. Okay, he's creative, right? Okay, we do not dispute about his.
artist.
He's what?
He's an artist.
He's an artist.
Yeah. He belongs in our sector here.
He does belong in this sector, and that's why I'm singling him out. But guys, just when I think I've seen the worst, Rasta comes with another story, honestly, of someone who's supposed to look like I don't know what happens there. How do we help Rasta? How do we locals help him? Or maybe he doesn't need help. Maybe he doesn't know he needs help.
Maybe he's got his own niche market by now.
He's got his own niche market. No, that's the story. He's got his own niche market. But Rasta, man, we're always on the lookout for Rasta. He's going to come. But you know what I did? One day I was like, no, man, Rasta, we are tired now. So I got my little daughter to draw up just a Mickey Mouse type of thing. And then we posted it on Facebook alongside Rasta, and we said, taste of your own medicine. Also, you look like this. Also, you look like this one. Hi, Rasta. Thandi, so you touched on the skills. And I want to ask you this. What skills shortages exist in the sector that would be great career options for young people?
Well, I think, the sector shifts and changes all the time. I do know very practically, for example, we've just undertaken as a sector to ensure that we are protecting our actors on set when they're doing intimate scenes. Intimate scenes are very difficult. Desiree was talking earlier on about scenes of abuse and how difficult that is for an actor. The same thing happens with sex scenes. And we've just introduced protocols into the country where we're trying to get producers and sets to make sure that they adhere to these protocols, that they go through the training that needs to happen around these protocols, and they work with something called an intimacy coordinator. And there are very few people in this country. I think there's 1 or 2 or 3 people who have the ability to go into sets. It's basically like a stunt coordinator, but for sex scenes, for intimate scenes. And I think there is a new area of expertise for the sector, and something that I think people should really look into in terms of how to coach people on movement and shape and dealing with issues around that. So, the sector does, as we grow, creates more and more job opportunities. The second area of big growth for the sector is also animation. So people should look at that. And then, as I said, looking at the technical back end of the industry, I think when people think of going into television or into film, they always think, I want to be an actress or an actor. But we need people who compose music. We need people who do the lighting. So really looking at it from that perspective, especially for women. I think we need to look beyond where we normally fit our roles into, and start looking at those parts of the industry that are not open to us, but make sure they become open to us.
Yeah. Okay, so before we let our head down a little bit and have an open discussion as ladies, as women, as moms, as spouses, as whatever you want to, whichever category you fall into, and there is already a question online where somebody wants to know, who are your role models, anybody, and how to make sure that you fix other women's crowns, whether it's in your workspace, in your offices, or whether it's at home, you're a sibling, you're a mom, you're a sister, you're an aunt, a neighbor, whatever the case may be. But before we go into that, I just want us to have a look at our screens. I just want to, we've spoken a lot about the industry itself, but there's other areas of the creative arts that I would like to, to showcase and demonstrate where we celebrate different kind of arts. And we've specifically gone for, member companies, so women who do creative arts work, wonderful creative arts work in our, in our pool of members. So we have African Mamas Crafts on the screen. This is all handmade. Beautiful stuff. This is creativity at its best. So they mustn't tell you that, we can't find these things anywhere. Local is not leke. This is so, beautifully made by women. And there she is. She owns the product and the business, in the context of fixing her crown and fixing the crown of others. Ankies is also a member of ours who makes this, so skincare, soap, lotions and all of that. She does notebooks and gifting, that's, wallets and purses she makes. That's creativity at its best. That kind of thing, using wool. And there she is, Anki, who is a member of ours rather, in the context of fixing your crown. Blue Rose, another member, a woman-run business founder who makes all these delicacies and all these goodies. There we go. You see on your screen, that's creativity at its best. Flower arranging, that's creativity. Me, I can't, really, I just want to buy it ready. Don't ask me to put it together. And I think we have an appreciation of the fact that we can't do everything. This is why there's a purpose for all of us. And there she is with her lovely arrangement of flower that she puts it together herself. SA Gifts, it's a gifting company that is a member of the Proudly South African movement, and that's what they do. They're based out in the Cape. Those are the lovely goodies that they make and they sell, out there. This is called a Shweshwe notebook. These are the kind of things that they do. You'll agree with me that, oh, there she is, the boss lady who has a number of ladies who do great work behind the scenes. There's more. There's somebody else who, there's more. Guys, there's more. I'm not sleeping on the job. I think there's 3 more. And we have one of our own within our, Lady Kana. Lady Kana is also a wonderful brand. In fact, she has a shop at the OR Tambo Airport. Look at that headgear. Look at, Sasa, I can see you in that headgear. You rock them. Yeah, no, you do. You do. Look at that artwork. Listen, not everybody can put this together. It needs another level of patience. Look at this. Beautiful. Happy socks, I think. Beautiful. And there she is. Very stylish as always. Has a shop at the OR Tambo Airport. Fixing her own crown. Lamo hair. They use a lot of more hair. Look at that. That just, I feel like I want to wrap it around my neck. On the couch next to the fireplace, there's socks again. There we go with creativity, beautiful designs. And there she is. And then I think we have one of our own. Now that's a beauty with brain. She is our internal graphic designer, Zineida. Look at her work. She does such beautiful work that when we put out all these things in the public domain, we normally get asked at Proudly South African, who's your agency? We have a one-woman agency within. And I felt the need to celebrate her and fix her crown today because she's a graphic designer, the only one in the company. That is her work, guys. That is it. Look! And she is that beauty with brains. She is amazing. Amazing. Well done, Zineda. This is so beautiful that we have within our midst, you know, somebody who really contributes who is in the industry, so to speak, which is wonderful to see. So there's more in the creative arts world, and that was the purpose of what you've just seen, just to demonstrate to you that there's more. May we please have Desiree and Thandi back on screen as we have an open discussion about the fact that I have a question for you. So what is your take on this whole narrative? Imbogodo. Okay, Namsa just frowned. She gave me a look. Namsa gave me a look. Namsa, I assume that you don't prescribe to that.
No,
Yeah.
I think there was a point in time when it was maybe trying to be feisty and
Yes.
fight and all of that.
Yeah.
But I think I'm actually finding it quite unattractive to be constantly angry and trying to prove that I am strong, because actually we're just human, right? Yeah. And as we were talking the other day, you don't have to be strong for anybody. No. You just have to be you,
Yes.
right? You can be firm without being angry and fighting all the time. Yeah. It's exhausting.
It's exhausting.
It's exhausting to be strong, and
it's
for
exhausting.
who?
For who?
You know.
So. And I know it said in you know, it means well.
Yeah.
I know. I mean, I would espresso.
It does mean well.
Yeah.
But also, I do hear what you're saying. There is strength also in vulnerability.
Yes.
We need to acknowledge that.
Yeah.
Because in vulnerability, you learn yourself, you dig deeper to try and find your strength, which makes you stronger.
Yes.
You know? So you need to celebrate in a balance.
Yeah.
The stage of Imbogoto is not that we're taking that away completely. We are still strong, but there is different ways of strength and utilizing your strength. And just because you use vulnerability and you're feminine and you're soft does not mean you're not soft.
You're weak, yes.
You're weak, yes.
Yeah.
You know, you're still strong in being feminine.
Yeah.
And that needs to be celebrated also.
Yeah.
You don't need to be hard, as Mrs. Namsa was saying. You don't need to be angry.
It's exhausting.
You don't need to be,
She said,
it's a lot of energy that you put in, you know? So it's a balance.
And you want to be soft. Guys, you want to be soft, you want to be gentle, you don't want to be Imbogoto. Desiree, I mean, I don't know. Imbogoto is a stone. It's a hard rock. You can't break it. I get broken down. I cry. I have a pretty, and then I forget to have a pretty cry. Then it's an ugly cry. But it's fine. You're human. Des, what do you say?
No, I completely agree. I mean, I think that there was a time, and that was an important statement for women to find strength in themselves at a time when women really needed to unite. And I think that sometimes when you are feeling vulnerable and delicate, to be reminded that underneath that you are strong is an important message. But I think that often women in leadership find themselves thinking that they have to be tough all the time. And actually, I find that women leaders are at their strongest when they are empathetic. Because a healthy business or a healthy film set or production is about happy people, is about people that are feeling safe and comfortable. And so there's a difference between being firm in leadership but not having to always be tough and strong. I like to think a little bit more in the sort of Asian way that, you know, we are like bamboo. You need to be able to bend and move very easily, but bamboo is still very strong at its core. So, that's what I think.
And Thandi, how do you fix other women's crowns? Somebody wants to know. The women you come across, the women you work with, how do you pause for 1 second and be intentional about the fact that you're going to step in and help them realign their crown? Where's Thandi? Oh, there we go.
I think I think it's being incredibly intentional. So, for example, I have a documentary slate called Women in Doc, and our aim is to only use women on these productions. And that's from camera to music, to lighting, to everything else. It's to only use women. So I think fixing your crown is making sure that you're presenting opportunities when you have the opportunity to do so. I think as you become more senior in the industry, that's very key and important. It's being a sounding board, and I think also being a mentor, and making sure you're there for people to be able to talk through things, to raise concerns. And it's ensuring that when you do go into the industry in terms of fixing a crowd, as the co-chair of the IPO, we try and look at the big policy issues for the sector. And sitting in that kind of role, it's incredibly important that we talk about issues that are meaningful to women, making sure, for example, there's salary parity and that women are earning the same as men for the same job. These are all parts of fixing the crown, and doing that from a policy level and trying to get our members to ensure that they're doing this. So there are very many ways. There's personal ways, as I said, and that's being an emotional support, being a mentor, being there when I've got issues or problems or I don't understand things. But then, of course, sectorially, it's also making sure that we're setting up an industry that is open to the way women are, that takes women's lives into consideration, and that makes sure that we're earning the same as everyone else, and that we're there from an equal perspective and have an equal voice.
Yeah. And so how do we then, I'll go back to you, Namsa, how do you, and I would imagine that, all of you will agree with the fact that you've got to invest in yourself first as a woman, right? First, before you have the energy to be able to take care of whether it's the team, whether it's the children, whether it's the spouse, whether it's the extended family, to invest in yourself first. And what is your way of investing in yourself, Namsa? What do you do for you, and not be apologetic and guilty about it?
There's very little that I do because,
stop it. You must do more.
We work in a high-pressured environment.
Yes,
but I think for me, I'm a boy mom, right?
Okay.
So, sorry.
Yes.
First and foremost, I see myself as investing in the human side of things, right? Before I get into the woman, because I also worry about my boy is going to have to meet this powerful woman,
yes,
and he must be able to step up. But there are certain things that I don't compromise on in terms of how I invest in myself. I make sure, pre-COVID,
yes,
I make sure that I take meaningful holidays where I can actually just switch off, because sometimes the grind is so bad that you can go 3 months without going for a spa, without, and the alternative then becomes that one glass of wine every day, which isn't necessarily the best of things, right?
But it's good, it feels good.
It's good,
That's
good, but if it's the only thing, then it becomes problematic. So you
Yes,
do need that balance. You do need those weekend aways. You do need time to just sit with. Fortunately for me, I'm surrounded by very powerful women, dare I say. So when things are down, I've got somewhere to go. I'm able to pick up a phone and say, I'm so pissed off, because I can only say I'm so pissed off to them.
Absolutely.
Because in other scenarios I can't. But having a good support system is very important for me. And grounding yourself in time for you.
Yeah.
There are weekends where I go in on a Friday and I come out on Monday.
Good.
I just don't do anything.
Yes.
Sometimes I sleep from Friday, then I wake up Saturday, I'm like, okay, so the day's gone. So there's certain things that you have to try, otherwise you're gonna burn out.
I envy you. You have a person in your home who is over 20 years.
Yep.
Try to step in my shoes with a 12-year-old.
Yeah, so
that Friday to Monday is not gonna happen.
Yeah. so I always say I have a very young team in terms of my team at work, and you can see the energy that they're going with, and I've been there, and I always say to them, it's okay, be patient with yourself, because they want it now, and but I always, because I'm just so calm about everything that I do, they think that, okay, we don't have to go crazy about certain things. Things come when it's time for them to come to you. So Yeah, she will be over 21 at some
One
point.
day, yes.
And then you're going to miss, the, so just be patient, it comes.
But you touched on a very important aspect, sisterhood.
Yeah.
You must have a go-to place, guys, where you will say things that are unspoken in the public, that you can say to them, and they absorb it, and they deal with it, and they tell you it's okay. You are a sisterhood environment. Every woman needs it.
And the honesty that comes with it, because I find that most of my friends have quite a sharp bullshit detector, you know. So when I want to go into a pity party that is unnecessary, they're the first to say, "Oh, okay, can you just keep it moving?" You know. So that honesty is important.
It's important. It's important. Desiree, sisterhood. Have you got a sisterhood? Desiree, you don't. I don't think you sleep 8 hours a day. You. What you've done, I mean, what we saw on the screen is just a fraction of what you've done. Sisterhood, how important is that to you?
I am a workaholic, definitely, and that makes it difficult. I have a family. I have 3 children, and they keep me grounded. You know, they'll come and say to me, or my husband will come and say to me, okay, you know, you really have to switch off the computer and join the real world. So actually, I just had a weekend with my kids and my husband, which was really fantastic, where I switched the computer off for 2 days and just enjoyed my family. And that really does, I must say, that really does replenish me. You know, our kids are all grown up now, so it's wonderful to spend time with young adults. But I do have a very good friend, and every now and then when I need to blast off, we go for a walk. You know, because it's very good when you having a walk. You've got an excuse for speaking louder and blowing up some steam, and you can swear without anybody hearing you. And but I feel a bit like Namsa. I think it's important to have friends that have a bullshit detector, because when you're working hard, it's easy to feel like, oh, woe is me, and nobody feels my stress, but it's not true. Sometimes you've just got to reach out and share it with somebody. You know, you become so protective over your own stuff that you stop sharing. So.
And I tell you what, I've always been very mindful of investing in myself, at least prior to COVID, because that's another story. You know, where, you know, you spoke about a spa. I would literally every month go to a spa. And years ago, I met this Taiwanese lady that did my manicure. Ladies, trust me when I say half the time I have no idea what Elle is saying to me. I have no idea. Or I do hear toes, sore, no, not sore, you know, hard, soft, but we find each other. So I escape to my own Elle, who makes me feel relaxed. I don't know what she's saying, but I do know that I walk away with the spring in my step. You know, my team will tell you this. I have a predominantly female team, by the way, because I've always felt strongly about that as well. But, you know, I'll say to them, guys, I'm not shy to tell you. I buy myself a bunch of flowers. I go online, I place an order, I send the flowers to my address. The delivery man comes, the bell goes, I answer, and they say, we have a delivery from Mrs. Ngidi. I act so surprised. Wow, for me? Oh my word, for me, who could have sent me flowers? I act so surprised, I lose my mind. My husband looks at me funny, and I keep it. I don't tell him it's from me. And I know at some point he'll go to that card. Go look for the card. There's no, it just says too happy. Really, because guys, otherwise I'm going to be mad at the world. No one's buying me flowers. It takes nothing away from buying myself my favorite flower. Buying myself my favorite flower takes nothing. I'm happy. I've got the flowers in the house. I'm not mad at anyone. You know what I mean? It's those. Go to a bar. Guys, look stunning. Go chill at the bar. Buy yourself your favorite drink. You're not trying to be seen by anybody. You just want to be with you. And you know what I mean? And enjoy your drink. Because just now you start counting. This one did not take me out last month. That one did not. Then it's a mess. Then it's really, literally a mess. So here's another question. There's a question online. Gift says, how does one look for mentorship in the art department? Tandi, maybe you want to take that? Mentorship.
Mentor, I mean, in the art department specifically, I think Espresso is probably better placed.
Oh, yeah, that's best of
mentorships in the art department.
I want to hear your voice, Tandi. Tandi with the yes. Espresso. Yes. Yes. How do we go about it?
Reach out. The best thing you can do for yourself is reach out. Pick up the phone and call whatever production house. People have this thing that production houses, we shut our doors and we're closed and we have like piles of CVs and we don't care about people. But reach out, you know? Ask to be seen. We will open the door, we will sit down with you and have an interview, and let's speak and let's bounce energy. And based on that, we can take it from there.
Yeah.
But it's all about you having enough faith in yourself for another person to have faith in you.
Yeah, yeah. The elephant in the room, guys. Namsa, the elephant in the room is the pandemic. I mean,
yeah.
I'm surprised that some of us are still standing. It's been
brutal.
It's been brutal, but we've seen ourselves play a role in a movie. It's like a horror movie. It really is. And you say brutal, it's actually also cruel. Hey, it's really cruel, you know. And in that context, Namsa, how has that affected the sector?
It has affected the sector in a way that we probably have gone a little bit backwards in terms of what we had planned to do, because we've had to scale down certain things. So the big ambitions that a lot of people had just did not come through. But we did, I think, rise up, and I'm sure Tandi will speak to it. We did rise up quite nicely in a sense that we didn't know what we were dealing with, but we were very quick in our responses to say, how do we still support the sector? How do we still, you know, make sure? And I think that, you know, the government protocols that came on time, and the relationship worked, right? So they gave us the don'ts, and we immediately understood what those were, and we immediately transferred that to production houses, and we supported them. We created frameworks of what it is that can or can't be done. We supported financially because it meant additional costs, because suddenly you now have got sanitizers, you've got all of these other things that were not in your base budget. So we did try to make sure that we kept, you know, the sector afloat. But yeah, it has been tough, because people, you know, especially now with the second and the third wave, you're starting to see a lot of people get ill, and you're starting to see people out of work for a while. So it's also affecting the creative side of it, because you write story in advance and then things change. So it's really asking a lot from creatives to be agile in terms of what they can offer. But yeah, it has set us back in some way, because remember that even if you had big ideas about the creative or output, you can't anymore. You can't have big spaces. So it is confined in that way. But I think that the sector is still standing, you know, and I think the broadcasters have done what they can. I mean, everybody in the sector, advertisers still continue to invest. I mean, a lot of them, especially the alcohol sector, I mean, they've been hit the hardest. And, you know, the platform that we have and the audiences that we have are important to them, but they still, you know, kept the money coming through. So, yeah, I think as a collective, the sector has really tried to still be standing now. Yeah.
Talk about the alcohol sector and the sense of humor that we have as South Africans. Guys, it doesn't matter what we're going through. We'll always find something. Ne? So talk about some people were not affected by the alcohol, you know, unavailability and all of that every time after the family meeting happened. Because we went home and we bought all the pineapples.
But I had other people started getting sick. So
from that, you know, there's something doing the rounds lately. They say, just go do your vaccine, man, for COVID. Don't worry, you'll do it on Friday. By Monday, we will have figured out how to get that chip out of your body. We are South Africans. We always have a plan. Did you see that? We are South African. Desiree, how do you feel, what do you know, so obviously there's no question. The pandemic did somewhat affect the industry, but do you think we found our comfort space, like Namsa says, after a while?
Yeah, I mean, actually, I think that of course, at first it took a while for us all to find a way to work around it. But, you know, challenges are the mother of invention. And in fact, in many ways, I think that we've discovered different ways of working. One has to be very careful. We've learned how to work in a much more careful way. We've learned how to segmentalize our sets. It's also created new opportunities, new jobs. A lot of work has gone offline. I remember when we started, in fact, we were delivering Isibaya, and all of a sudden, you know, we had to put all our editors working remotely. And so it created a whole new opportunity for IT in our business, and how were we going to work offline and get material back to the broadcaster. So, you know, COVID has had in many ways, of course, negative. We've had many people that have been ill, and we've lost colleagues and family members, and that's been very hard. And it's hard when you're filming because, you know, if people get sick, you're worried, are they going to be okay? You've got to change the schedule.
Yes.
So it means we're often thrown into disorganization, which adds costs. But I think that we are all, the sector has got wiser, and that we all understand how to minimize our risks as much as possible.
Sure, yeah, I think none of us could have been ready for this. And in your space, Expresso, you know, when you look at COVID and your own environment, you know, the worries, the anxiety, the not knowing, you know, you might not have a job tomorrow. That's what the pandemic actually means. Yeah.
For me, it was, I have to give big ups to people like Desiree, you know, trying to find the money to try and keep us all employed in a situation where a lot of people are losing their jobs, you know, trying to sustain that family. Because within my department, the other very difficult thing is we work long hours. Our department, you get there first, you leave there last, you know, so you're tired, your immune system is probably weak. It's low, you know. I remember also during the pandemic, at one time we were delivering House of Swede. Desiree literally had to say, go home. I don't want you here anymore. Take care of yourself.
Yeah, you have
because
to go.
you forget that. You forget that because you have bills, and you also want to be a part of something, you know, because you have to be grateful. A lot of people do not have anything. And the fact that you still have something, you need to be grateful for it and to push, you know. So it's been quite hard. And being a single mother also during the pandemic, you are at work, you don't know what's happening with the school, and then they're at school for a week, and then they're pulled out of school for 2 weeks because someone got sick.
It's crazy.
You know, do you bring them to work? Do you leave them at home by themselves? It was a lot of challenges. And then you learn to create a system also to de-stress, a system with your own children. So, okay, when this happens, this is what we're gonna do, you know? You learn to communicate, and you also learn to appreciate things, because people get sick and people have died. So you learn to appreciate a whole lot of things, no matter how small they are. You appreciate things.
Yeah, and touch wood that you don't get exposed to the actual condition, because life will never be the same at all. I come from there, so it's just, there's something that happens. Something happens in you when you survive it, where you look at life completely different. And the fact that it can happen to anybody.
It doesn't choose.
Matter. Yeah, with even you with your cute hair, Expresso. You know,
it's matching my set.
You know what I mean? It's just it really humbles you. You know, you sit down and really just.
And it also makes you process. It makes you think.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Before the reality of COVID, we weren't thinking; we were reacting.
Yes.
You know. Now you have to take a step back and go, okay, if I'm going to speak to this person in this way, this could be our last conversation.
Could be. Could
know?
be, yeah.
Consider your steps,
yeah.
you know?
Could be.
And that is also teaching us to be better people.
Yeah.
Because, Happy, this could be our last conversation,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So the way that we treat each other, what COVID did also, apart from turn our world upside down,
Yeah.
it taught us to be humane.
It taught us to be humane, which speaks to a word that speaks volumes to my heart, a principle I live by, to be kind.
Yeah.
Because everybody you come across is going through something you know nothing about. Everybody, all of us sitting here, we're going through something we know nothing about. It just takes kindness to, you know, for somebody to draw some positive energy from. It reminds me of a security guard that I came across. You know, I had a death in the family, went to a doctor to give me something to calm me down. When I walked out of the doctor's rooms to go to the chemist, I was a mess. You know, when you're having a loud cry, you don't care who you're going to come across. It's not about that. It's about the fact that you've just lost someone. And you are, your world is, the guy left his, you know, he's a guy, he takes care of your temperature when you come in. He left it. He came to me and said, I don't know what, I don't need to know. Will you allow me to hug you? He held on to me so tight and said, it's okay, cry, cry, cry. Then he said, give me your car keys. I gave it, he said, sit there, you are not leaving. Until I am confident that he went to get water, went to the chemist to go get the medication for me. 2 months later, I went back to go find him. I went to a store, I bought him a gift, locally made socks. I went to go find him. When I got to NHC, they told me he had moved to another branch. I drove there. I said to him, do you remember me? 2 months ago, I was, he says, yes, I know who you are. And I said, I came to say thank you. Here's your gift. That man was, kindness does not even begin to, at my lowest hour, he showed up from nowhere and he was humane. And the honors was with me to learn something from that, and hence 2 months later, I decided to go find him.
And that was a choice on your behalf. That was a choice for you to do that, because another person would have completely forgotten him.
Yes.
You chose to acknowledge the power that he had in that moment.
In that moment.
And he saved you in that moment, you know? Because you were going through something, you felt you were going through something alone.
Exactly.
And he saved you, you know? Right now, we don't even have the value of a hug because of the pandemic.
Yes, and we did it. And we were both wearing masks. And in a way, I felt that my dad had stepped in because he was an old man. Yes. You know? Uboya Benyati. That's his, I found out afterwards, who I felt my dad came from nowhere. You know, and showed up when I needed him the most. And it was the power of the universe and the power of because I'm a believer, the power of the Lord that I believe in, who just, you know, stepped in and showed up at my lowest
At your
moment.
lowest, when you were that vulnerable
Yes,
egg.
yes.
We're
you know?
banned.
Ladies are patting shots. We could talk forever. Is it possible to have both Desiree and Thandi on screen? Is it possible? Please, may we have Desiree and Thandi on screen? There's a question that is directed to anybody, so anyone can grab it. How will the fourth industrial revolution and digitalization transform the creative arts sector in the future? It's from Johanna Rashidi. Any takers?
Yeah, I think we're already starting to see, and thanks to partly the pandemic, because we're starting to see a lot of innovation in terms of how people can actually produce remotely.
Yes.
You know, and how you can, so there are a lot of opportunities that we have not even begun to unearth, right, in terms of technology. So we just need to leapfrog and make the infrastructure available for people to try out and start to do these things. But I do think that there's an opportunity for people to, I mean, we've delivered hours and hours of work remotely, right, in terms of post-production particularly. So there are still other opportunities in terms of the studios themselves, you know, how do we take them to the next level? And
So there you have it, Johanna. Namsa has just given us, you know, her take on that. She says, in hindsight, the pandemic has presented more opportunities, as horrible as it may be, but in hindsight, I mean, most of us work remotely, but the work gets done.
And
the work gets done. Espresso, you have a fan. Well, we're never inviting you again. Her name is Kifilwe Machila. I love the tone of Espresso's voice.
Thank you.
They say you have a radio voice.
Really?
It's so warm. It's so calming. I could listen to her album if she were to sing. Wow. There's your next move. You see?
Happy? Are you hearing this?
I'm going to be on television because there was you remember that story.
I'll be doing your interviews.
And then you are singing.
And do a radio presenting
yes,
also.
And then we go to Sasa for the platform. Then we go to Desiree to put it all together. Listen, guys, it's a winning formula. Don't complicate it. Desiree, thank you so much. You know, I've been to your offices a number of times with crazy ideas. I'm that girl. You know, but ideas that you have always, you know, embraced with very warm embrace. You understand our intention as proudly South African. You understand the buy local narrative, you know, and it is in the context of the discussions we've had in the past, but then the pandemic happened. You know, on behalf of Proudly South African, thank you so much for remaining our friend. And when we asked you to please be part of this, there was no hesitation. There was no long story. You were like, I'd be most happy to do it. I feel like I want to say, the return, Baba. The return of something must happen. What's your parting shot?
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And I mean, I am so proudly South African, and local content for me is so exciting. And I think that we've only just started to show our local content abroad in a way that's starting to have an impact. And I think it's going to grow. You know, so thank you very much for having me. And I guess for me, the biggest thing, you know, going back to how do you support other women in our industry, and in fact anybody, is just to see people, is to really give people an opportunity, open a door and see people. And if you can, you can't always do everything. You can't always give somebody a job, but you can definitely open a door for somebody. And so I feel like that's for me the most important thing of anybody, whether it's a small business or medium or large business, is see the person.
Thank you so much, Desiree. You remain a force in the industry. You know, we wish you all the best. You know, everything of the best that comes with the energy you put into your work. We hope that you try not to be a stranger to your own family, where you're on your computer. Thank God for your husband who told you to shut down, you know, and enjoy the walks with your bestie. You see, I was listening to you. Enjoy your walks with your bestie and continue telling our stories the best way you can, as you've demonstrated to us as a nation for the longest time. Thank you. I wish you a great day further. Please take care of yourself out there. And yeah, we will chat again soon. But please stay on until the end of the show, because there's other stuff for the next 5 minutes at least that we would like you to see. Thank you so much, Desiree. Thank you. Thandi?
Yes.
Our gratitude knows no boundaries. Thank you so, so much for being part of this great discussion, I believe. You know, keep fixing each other's crowns. In fact, there's a question for you. I want you to share with us what you want us to know, obviously. What's the weirdest thing you've ever done as a woman? And it's okay to do it. And you looked at it and you thought that was so, you know, whether you forgot to return an email or you phoned the wrong person. Yesterday, I was phoning one of my team members, Bridget, but I phoned Carrie. And Carrie answered and said, "Hi, Happy." And I said, "Bridget, where is that bio from?" You know, I see there's no, where, and Carrie said, "Happy, what are you talking about?" I'm looking for that thing that you've looked back at and you think that was so Mickey Mouse. But it's okay, because you're human.
I think the weirdest thing, because I've traveled a lot, and you know, being female and having hair like mine, whenever I come back from South America, they always assume that I'm carrying drugs. So it's always a great, always, without fail, I have to go like this with my hair. So I think that for me, I had to sweet talk my way out of having to go to hospital for x-rays. And I literally was in customs and I walked up to that x-ray machine that they put your luggage through, and I said, climbing on top of it and said to them, I'd rather go through this x-ray machine than wait for 22 hours to go to a hospital to x-ray me. And I literally had customs in hysterics, okay? Because there was this vision of me going through the x-ray machine like luggage, instead of going to a hospital to get x-rayed to see if there were drugs inside of me. So I try and joke a lot.
And we know that those guys are not messing around. Ne? Once you're a suspect, forget it. Yeah, no, you feel like you're already guilty.
Exactly. And I once almost got arrested because someone asked me if I was carrying anything sharp, and I said only my tongue. And he didn't get that joke.
Oh,
so
no.
There was for a while because I cracked the joke.
Your being witty didn't work in your favor, clearly.
No, it didn't work in my favor at all. So I had to bite my tongue after that.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Thandi. What's your parting shot for people who want to be in the industry, or what's the one thing that you want to leave us with?
I think the key thing is, in our sector, we need to understand the business of our sector. Very often as creatives, we don't. So I think my key parting shot for women is understand the business you're in and the business side of it. That's really key for me. And the second thing is, I think the one thing the pandemic has shown us is that we need to act collectively as a sector. So volunteer for industry organizations, make sure you're making sure that we grow as a sector and industry. Become actively involved, not just in terms of your job and your role, but in terms of making sure the sector survives and that we are strong together within the sector.
Well, thank you so much. I couldn't have put that any better. Thank you so much, Thandi. We really, really appreciate your time. Please hang in there for about 3 minutes or so, when we close off officially. But thank you from the bottom of our hearts. And now, before I have a closing remarks from my stunning guests in the studio, we're going to go to remember earlier there was a competition story. We need to know who won.
Oh,
yes, remember, so somebody, we need to know who's winning the combo: flat screen, made locally from Hisense, and a decoder made locally from MultiChoice. Hit us, guys. Who is the winner? There we go. Yay! There we go. Competition winner is Marile Diagrella. Yeah, I hope I did not butcher that. But it is said with the utmost respect. There's the winner on the screen. Congratulations. The team will be in touch with you to make sure that those goodies on the screen are delivered to your house. Do act surprised. Okay? The same way I act surprised when I get the flowers. Get very surprised. Forget that you entered a competition. Say it's for me. Oh my word. Lose your mind. Act surprised and enjoy local content. Watch those local content on television. Congratulations. That is fantastic. Competition winner. Alrighty. Espresso. It was absolutely lovely to see the brains behind House of Zwide and Gomorrah. You have a #1 fan of the storylines. I mean, I lose my mind. What is the one thing that you've done that you kind of want us to know about, and maybe not? Like the Thandi's story is another story. What have you done?
But I am crazy.
Okay, so can I translate that? I'm not mad, but I'm mad.
Have you ever found yourself in situations where you're having a whole conversation by yourself?
Yes.
Somebody literally walks in and walks out and they stand by the door and on some, right?
Yes.
I do that a lot.
Yeah.
Especially when I'm trying to process something. Ngiyazibuza ngiziphendule.
Yes.
Ngizibuze ngiziphendule. And by the time someone comes with the solution,
You've got it.
I've got it.
Yeah, you got this thing. But that's okay, isn't it? To have a personal conversation.
It's okay. I think it's okay. I think it's normal. And also sometimes to have it out loud.
Yeah.
You know? Speak to yourself and yeah.
Yes.
And that's when you find the solution. So growing up, that was considered good ailo.
Yeah,
which is insane. But you learn that it's healthy.
It's healthy.
Conversations with yourself are always healthy.
Conversation with myself.
Always healthy.
There we go. Conversation with yourself. You know what I do? I drive, volume up. You know, whether I'm listening to house music or I'm listening to a typical, listen guys, I drive, the volume is up and I'm having a good time. Do you hear me? I'm having a good time to a point when I get to the traffic light, the person alongside me, they're thinking, yeah, listen, don't let me play puff and pass. I do the, listen, it goes with the movements and the face and the look on the face. It's about the look, Moss. I've got 2 left feet if you ask me to. But in the car,
when you're sitting, you're doing the most.
I am doing the most. The look on the face, I'm intimidating. I am singing out loud. Puff and pass is on steroids. I changed from the Brown Dash to DJ Smooth to Cleo. Listen. No one's going to make me happy. What do you mean? You know, and whoever thinks I'm mad on the eye is fine. Yeah, life is too complicated. Guys, you have to find a moment for yourself. Namsa, and your madness.
I'm not crazy as any of you guys, so please, right? No. You all do normal things.
You all do normal things. You're not woo-woo.
No. I'm not.
Just this small one.
I'm not telling.
You're not telling. And your parting shot, Tasa?
I think my parting shot really is just, you know, count your blessings and rejoice in the good times and have faith in the bad. I think that I'm an incredibly lucky person, and I wouldn't finish this without acknowledging my team.
Yes.
I have an amazing, amazing team. They are young, and I let them be because they make me look good.
Yes.
Right? They are the experts. They, you know, I help them along, but they are an amazing, amazing team. And I mean, their work speaks for themselves.
Yeah.
So, but I just think that, you know, we really have to be grateful and be appreciative of one another.
Absolutely, absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. You said earlier on that you have a young team and they're very energetic and they're in a hurry. I do have a young team, but there is somebody who's slightly older than everybody else, including me, but she is the fastest lady. She is here in the mix somewhere here where we can. She is the fastest in everything she does. Do you hear me? Yeah. When she speaks, when she thinks, you can see she's way ahead. I mean, I refuse to travel. When we were traveling, like we'd go to Cape Town or whatever, when we get off the plane and we go to, she's there. Darren is there. He's there. And then she remembers that she's walking with someone. Then she looks back and I'm like, it's okay. You know, she nearly killed me. I made the most Mickey Mouse decision to join her at the MTN 702 walk the talk. Never again. We did 15 Ks. I said, Darren was so, and she's short. It's not like her, she's got big steps. And I said to her, with a good heart, I have no issues. It's okay, go. I'll find you at the end. Yeah, I'll make it. I'll get there. She was there. It looked like she never walked. And then we had to walk from the finish line to go to her home, which is in Melville, to go get my car. I said, you will have to call me an ambulance. I'm not moving. She was very happy to go to her home, another 2 kilometers to go get my car, to bring it to me because I was paralyzed. I couldn't. So the fastest. So they don't all have to be young. Darren is really our favorite. But also my team. You know, I mean, without them, I celebrated one of them who's a designer because, you know, she makes me look good. When all of that goes out in the public domain, I didn't do it. She did it. And here's an opportunity today to celebrate her. You know, including the team, everything you put here. In fact, I found out, you know, all us, the boss ladies, so to speak, we all have a nickname. that one day you find out by mistake. Me, my name is Vuyo. Remember the advert, Vuyo, the big dreamer. Yes, yeah. But I'm Vuyo, guys. They say I dream a lot. And then I call them to a meeting and I say, guys, make this happen. Make this, this must hang here. And then they go and sort it out. But then the end result is this. You know what I mean? So I said, I'm okay to be the Vuyo. It's fine. I'm not taking offense. Yes, I dream. Yeah, I just dream. I just want someone to implement the dream. That's all, so the team, amazing. I'm incredibly blessed to have the team. So thank you, everybody. We've come to the end of the discussion. Thank you so much, guys. I mean, you were here at Namsa and Espresso at the crack of dawn, but we served you some espresso.
You did,
it's
thank you.
Namsa that we need to sort out. Yes. But thank you, Amen, guys. You could have been anywhere. You've got, your diaries are a mess, but you chose to spend the time with us. You logged on yesterday for the dry run. We really, our gratitude honestly knows no boundaries. Thank you so much. It's a wrap. It's appropriate in this context.
Yes, it is. It is.
It is a wrap. It's been wonderful. Thank you to Proudly South African team. Thank you to everybody that joined us on any platform. Thank you to all our stakeholders, all our members, member companies who are online, all the owners of the products that we showcase, the speakers, Desiree, Tandi, Namsa, and Espresso, to the technical team who are doing amazing things. It's the third, guys. One more to go. One more. So next week, we're back here. We're talking to women in the automotive sector. Guys, it's a whole learning space. We're talking to somebody who's a woman who's in the assembly plant. If they're not at work, there's no production. They make a car from beginning to end product. Then we're talking to a woman who takes care of the tires in the car, the windscreens, the rear view mirrors, the side mirrors, the seats in the car, the electronics in the car. Today we don't even use keys. We just click and we use our finger. And we're talking to women who are doing all of that. Then we're talking to a woman who's a retailer who then sells this beautiful car. We're talking to cars that are locally manufactured. So we're zooming into that manufacturing automotive sector, which creates thousands and thousands of jobs, but it's the women that we are looking for. It's the women that we're looking for. And that's our finale. It's a 4-part series. Automotive is the final one. And we'll have a car in here, maybe. Remember, I'm Vuyo. We'll drive a car. The big dreamer. We're going to put a car here that is made locally. We must change the discourse. We must make it happen. We're going to do. Thank you so much, everybody. We are at Proudly South African, on social media platforms, rather, proudly.sa, www.proudlysa.co.za. If you want to know how to join the movement and be part of this lifestyle type of discussion or lifestyle type of campaign, the buy local movement is a tried and tested method the world over. Every country has its own buy local this, support local this. So South Africa is no different. Buy local. Thank you, David, for making us look amazing. At least, thank you. Thank you to everybody that made all of this possible. And now, as our parting shot, we're going to play the Rebuild campaign. It's a campaign. It was our quick response to the unfortunate unrests that we saw a few weeks ago. And we know what happened. And with this Rebuild campaign, we are saying we are here now. How are we going to move forward to rebuild, renew, and restart? Absolutely. Thank you, everybody. Great. Goodbye. Thank you.